It is I, the mysterious mystery man, back after almost a year to talk about everybody's favorite Disney cartoon. Every episode of the show, I am going to be talking about every single episode of the show, and you, my poor viewer, will be forced to sit through my ramblings as I do so. But for now, we will just be talking about episode 1, Return of the Roar. Lore, analysis, whatever other shiny thing catches my eye, it is all welcome here, as are you. I tire of this intro, let's watch the episode now. This is definitely not my excuse to watch this amazing show over again. Definitely not. I forgot how amazing this show's cold open was. You got Simba, you got Kiara, you got TLK references, and then suddenly wham, fruit straight to the back of the head. Classic. I honestly don't know what I prefer about this intro, the amazing characterization or the facial expressions. They immediately explain to you that Kiara is the future queen in the best way possible, through a joke.
At least I have my life figured out. What are you gonna grow up to be, little brother?
Happy?
This is how you give information. They contrast that by having Kiara tell Kion that he doesn't have his life figured out yet, obviously leading into how he becomes leader of the guard in this episode. Classic setup and payoff. Bunga jumps off Pride Rock to show that he's stupid, to show that he's brave, and then you get this opening song. I have no idea what this song is called. I'm pretty sure it's performed by Bo Black, the son of Jay Black of Jay and the Americans, as well as the writer of all the music of the show. At least I think this is him. Hopefully I'm not spreading misinformation here. The song also perfectly foreshadows each member of the guard before they are even introduced. First, we see Ono, who is the first to notice Kion and Bunga running towards them at turbo speed, teasing how he is going to be the keenest of sight. We see Beshti here, and unfortunately he doesn't get any tease besides that he knows Bunga and Kion's names. Oh well. We do immediately see Maku and Ushari though, because this show's world building is amazing, as well as Ushari being run over by Bunga, which is his whole thing about constantly being run over by everyone, which is what makes him turn evil in Season 2. Then we see Fuli, where they show her running real fast, because she's the fastest. Okay, the song is over now, that was a lot of explaining. Now we get our first introduction of Jonja and his crew, and our first instance of the roar happens here. I have no idea why I felt the need to tell you that. And this is my favorite joke of the entire show.
Son, we need to talk.
Oh, no, Dad, we already had that talk. Can you feel the love tonight? I know all about that mushy stuff.
Well, it's not that.
You gotta love that Can You Feel the Love Tonight reference. I just love the way the roar and the guard are introduced in this episode. If I was going to try to teach someone how to write a first episode and give information, I would make them watch this episode first. They even managed to sneak in Bunga's connection to Timon and Pumbaa in the same scene, and you barely even register it because they do it so smoothly. And can I please take this opportunity to say how much I love Rob Simba? Yes I can, because this is my show, and there is nothing you could do about it. Special call out to Carrie Payton's Rafiki. Casting here is as good as every other part of the show. Okay, more foreshadows, more shadows, yeah. Kion is specifically teasing Bunga here about who he is going to choose as bravest. When he says he wants to ask the bravest first, he literally looks back and smirks at Bunga. And then when Bunga starts pleading with him, he smirks again. Kion is literally messing with him. This is probably the first scene that makes Bunga actually bearable. They give him actual emotion and vulnerability. If only he had that in a certain later episode I can mention when his so-called best friend actually needed him, cough cough.
Sorry, buddy. You're turning evil.
You really think I'm evil?
Totally!
We also get here foreshadowing about all the villains for the next several episodes. Bunga specifically lists off how he will help them fight hyenas, jackals, crocodiles, and vultures. They had all of those future episodes planned by here. They had also already created Ray Ray and obviously Maku, as I pointed out. We literally see him in this episode. He also mentions wildfires and floods. The best character introduction yet, Tifu and Zuri. Are they annoying? Yes. Do I still love them anyway? Absolutely.
You wouldn't be stuck if you didn't keep stopping to sharpen your claws on every other tree. But Kiara, if I don't keep them sharp, they don't stay shiny.
I hate Timon and Pumbaa though. Speaking of hate, I have to talk about my least favorite song in the entire show now, don't I? Alright, if I have to. Zuka Zama.
Zukazama?
Don't ask.
Okay, let me tell you a story. When I first watched this show, I spent the first several episodes, probably almost half of season 1 I think, skipping or muting every song in the show. Every time I heard a song starting, I muted it or skipped it. I missed out on hearing all of these amazing songs for the first several episodes just because of how much this song sucked. I have a personal grudge with Zukazama. I don't just hate this song, it actively made my first viewing of this show, my first experience with this show, worse. I specifically remember skipping My Own Way and I think Baboons when I first watched this show for the first time. Yeah, that's how bad it was. To me, the worst offense a creative work or decision can make is to not just give me something bad, but to actively take away something good. And this song did exactly that. Okay? Okay. Calm down. I have reached my rant limit for this video. I am here to gush about how much I love this show, not to talk about this stupid song. Deep breaths. Okay. I'm moving on to part 2 now. Should I do a cool little transition thing as I move into the second part? Nah, not in the budget. You realize the place where Mazingo meets with Janja and his crew here is where Scar lives when he is brought back in Season 2. Because I just realized that right now. I also quite like how Janja knows that Scar killed the previous Lion Guard, but not that Scar was their leader. This implies that Scar himself passed down this story and Janja is only hearing a snippet of it from what Scar passed down. Or I am just theorizing random stuff. Song time. Tonight We Strike is such a great introductory villain song. Too bad I skipped it the first time I watched this show. Their plan here is perfect. Before they lose the ability to eat whatever they want, they will take away that ability themselves by killing literally everything. Flawless logic. And then we see Ono again, and the way Kion says, "You see just about everything, Ono. That's why I want to talk," makes it sound like he is either asking Ono to give him some dirt on somebody, or he suspects Ono saw something he shouldn't have and he's about to blackmail him into staying quiet. But now we finally get to see Beshte using his strength, and everybody chants his name just so they can make sure you remember it. Then they introduce Fuli the only way you can, through her lifelong feud with monkeys. I just love the implication of a bunch of adults angrily chasing a young girl like a mad mob, just because she said they looked funny. The Pride Lands are weird. I also like how they introduce Fuli as this almost rival to Kion. Even though it doesn't stick, it does kind of lead into how she becomes his second in command. Wait for it. Wait for it. I love Kion's squeak. And the way Kiara smirks as she walks away, she just knows she got her younger brother in trouble. What I also love about this scene, Simba isn't scolding Kion here because of some type of speciesism or bigotry or whatever. It's because he's terrified that Kion isn't taking it seriously. As we hear earlier on, Scar was also a young kid when he became leader of the Guard. That's why Simba is so nervous and says that he doesn't think Kion is ready. His anger here has nothing, or at least little, to do with species. It's because he, and he says it directly here, thinks that Kion is just playing with his friends. Simba's greatest fear is that Kion is going to turn out like Scar, and he is doing everything he can to prevent that from happening. Ironically, Kion probably would have had a higher chance of turning out like Scar if he was forced to just randomly choose a bunch of lions he barely knew, instead of using his friends. Pardon my tangent here, but I don't really want to make a dedicated video for it, at least not yet, maybe I will later. The Guard isn't meant to be like a military or whatever, it is meant to be a tight-knit group. Think about it. If Kion wasn't around friends in Season 3, he would have turned evil. There is zero doubt about that. If his guard wasn't so supportive, he would have turned out exactly like Scar, because that is exactly what happened to Scar. Okay, enough of this, moving on. I like how Kiara and Tifu are watching the gazelles here to track their movements and such, and then Kion and the guard happen, and they don't even try to hide anymore. They just walk over and say, "Hey, what you doing? Any good grass lately?" "Yeah, you moving down south? Makes sense. Lots of good grass down there, too." Time for Kion's Lament. Quick question, do you call this song Kion's Lament, or It's Time? Well, you're wrong, it's Kion's Lament, because the Season 3 song is called Kion's Reckoning. Also, lament is a cool word, but back to the song. Here we see Kion talking to Mufasa, obviously. This is the first time we hear Until the Pride Lands End. We see Kion's fear of turning out like Scar, and we get to hear Kion describe his roar earlier as a squeak, to the literal ghost head of his grandfather in the sky. I don't know why I find that funny, but I do. But now I want to tie this back to something I hinted at earlier. In the beginning of this episode, we are introduced to Kion as this carefree lion that doesn't take anything seriously and plays constantly. Some people see that and they think this is how Kion is introduced and that is his characterization. But it isn't. They specifically, intentionally establish Kion on both ends. He's meant to be both a carefree lion that doesn't take things seriously and a prince who's given a lot of responsibilities and lives in near constant fear that he will end up becoming exactly like the most evil lion the Pride Lands has ever seen. Kion is not one of those things. He is both of them. That internal battle is one of the most important part of his characterization. Enough seriousness, because this song is amazing. And it's such a shame that this is literally Kion's only solo in the entire show besides Kion's Reckoning. He gets 2 of them. Bunga gets like 6 or 7. I don't even care enough to count. And now for my favorite line in the entire series. They already scored a couple gazelles. Yeah, we got mentions of death in this show in the first episode. And people say this is a babies show. I mean, it is, just for babies who like death and sarcasm. And then we get this amazing fight scene featuring Fuli forgetting she is a cheetah and temporarily turning into a sheepdog. You get it? Because she's hurting the... yeah. Also, what is with shows and movies with animal characters and feeling need to make a scene with a bunch of animals stampeding, another animal being stuck in the way and having to be saved? It's weird how often this happens. I also love how Kiara has to directly remind the viewers that Bunga is brave. And then how Rafiki and Simba both say it is time, which is most likely a reference to Kion's lament earlier in the episode, and also a teaser about the show itself since this is the pilot. If it isn't already obvious, I love this show, and this pilot is absolutely amazing. I honestly feel like a lot of pilots are hard to watch. I used to have a bad habit of skipping pilots in any show while starting because I just don't like how blind a pilot usually is to how the show becomes later on. And especially how bad it feels going back to a pilot after finishing the show and seeing how much has changed. But I never had that issue with this one. As I already talked about extensively, they had practically everything planned from this first episode. I don't think I have seen a show this well planned since Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is why I've always called The Lion Guard Disney's Avatar. But enough of that. If you want to watch me ramble for hours about every other episode of this show, make sure to do all of that YouTube stuff. I refuse to use the S word. And tell me stuff in the Down Under. Until next time, and as always, this has been the Mysterious Mystery Network. Signing out.